I know.
Yeah.
I think because I think I've seen clips from that show, like Warhorse and stuff like that on there.
Yeah.
Joey Janela and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I tell you what, that's another one, Joey Janela. I tell everybody, I even tweeted like I don't really owe Joey Janela an apology, but I do because I'd really seen him live a couple times in AEW and just kind of, yeah. And then I watched him wrestle Jake something, and then 2 weeks later wrestle live Warhorse, and then recently Robert Ego Anthony, and I'm like, man, I slept on him. He can bring it. I don't know why. I've never publicly said I didn't like him, but I was like one of those guys that, we get so blasé and go, nah, I don't really know the guy. And it's refreshing when now I'm watching a guy right in front of me and watching his work, and I'm like, awesome.
Yeah. I always find it's different. I think to see things in person, that's for sure, than, on TV. And it's funny because it can go either way, I find. Like, there's guys who I've loved working with, and then I've had to sit in a match, like around the ring, like in a lumberjack match, and I'm like, this sucks. But I've also had the exact opposite happen. You know what I mean? So, but like the times where I'm like, this sucks, I'm usually like surprised by it. And I'm like, maybe I'm just having a shitty day or something. So
yeah, no, that's how. And I asked Joey while we were there. We were the guys in the UK were doing a live blog up until we sponsored Warrior Wrestling, and I asked them to do a promo for us and stuff, and couldn't have been nicer. Like it's hard to go transition from what I used to do in wrestling to now I'm doing I don't want to get labeled as a podcaster because I know that label from being around it, but I'm trying to go, all right, I got to stick a kid. Do you mind doing a promo for us? And Joey Janela, awesome. My favorite story is Brian Cage.
Oh, wow.
Now, Cage, jacked up,
yeah,
been nothing but nice, but I caught him on a bad day, which was, to me, was awesome. Because I asked him, hey, can you do a little promo? He did a promo for us like a month before about your match live blog. And he goes, well, I really don't know what to say, but go ahead. So then I go to him, hey, would you mind doing a little promo for Wrestling Travel? Like, hey, we bring. And everybody did it, no problem. And he just kind of, he's staring right through me. And I go, dude, if you can't do it because of whatever contract or don't want to. Yeah. And he looks at me and goes, oh, I could do it. I'm just trying to think of a good reason why I would. I'm like, I freaking lost it. I'm kind of smiling. I'm like, you have a good day, sir. Because I'm like, I didn't want to get freaking killed by Brian Cage in front of everybody, but I thought that was funny. And we still love him. He's always been really good with us. But when you hit a guy on a certain day, I should have just shut my mouth.
I know. Out of me and Connor, I'm definitely the cranky one between the two of us. Like, he's always been way more personable than I ever was. Like, it was funny because like even we didn't usually travel together, and if he'd get to the arenas before me when all the fans were there, I'd just try to run in the building. Like, I'm just trying to get away, and they'd be like, "Oh, your partner signed for us," and I'd be like, "That's because he's the good one." So.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, day after day after day, what you got. I mean, just not that you dislike the fans.
No,
it's just
not at all.
Shit, if you spend time with every fan, you gotta get anywhere.
Yeah, I was always like, my hat's off to like all the guys that would take a lot of time to do it because I'm just too cranky. And on days where like I was traveling and miserable and just like and it's you're not supposed to let all this stuff kind of carry over, but like even stuff from my personal life.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to go fake a smile and a handshake with fans. Like, I'm really not fake in any way. Like, as a person, I can't bring myself to really do it. So like when people, if you do see me at a signing and I'm, happy and in a good mood, well, I'm really happy and in a good mood. I'm happy to be there doing what I'm doing. And most of the time, like me and Connor have always had pretty good times. Like there was times at Access and stuff like that where we'd go in and be like, man, this is going to suck this year. Like, really not looking forward to this. And then the fans would always change our minds and make it, they would make us better, just by their interactions with us. And now it's like I love doing that stuff more than anything, as to where I used to hate it. So
yeah, because a lot of times you may not be in the best mood, but somebody like, hey man, I've waited for this day for
Yeah.
2 months when I bought a ticket just to meet you guys. That's awesome. Talk about this. How and I talked a little bit with Connor about it, but you guys, obviously they put you guys together. You guys gel quite a bit. How long had you known Connor before they kind of put you guys in a tag?
The whole time I was in FCW.
Okay. I didn't know if it
Me
was
and
prior.
Connor. No, I didn't know him before I got there. I didn't know there was only a couple people that I feel like I knew really before I got there. But I did actually hit it off with him right away. Um, and it's funny, like he went through so much, I know, at that time, like when they formed the Ascension and everything that kind of happened there, and like what a wacky story. And then even at one time when he had broken his back, um, Norman Smiley was kind of pushing for me to move in to be with the Ascension. Not push him out by any means. It was just like, hey, you know, we think you two could be a good mix while we're waiting for Connor to get back as well. And we pitched it. We did a few matches and stuff, like myself and Brahm, and we even had Raquel was with us like once or twice on a couple of them I got to do. And Dream just didn't see it, I guess is what he said. I can remember one day me and Brahm did just a super sad, dark promo. I can't remember the exact thing about it, but Dream just kept being like, "You look so sad, baby. You look so sad. It's making me want to cry just watching this." And then he just keep making us do it over and over again to the point where I was like, I want to fucking kill myself right now. I don't want to do this sad promo anymore. Like, very good. I like the looks of you too, but I see something else for you, baby. And he said that forever. And it wasn't until Brahm was gone and oh yeah, Connor had kind of started doing. He'd been doing more stuff on his own. Like Raquel was gone, um, and I know he had been working with Big E, doing those matches on NXT, like the heavyweight title stuff. And so, from what I get from the story, is I think it was Kidman and Norman were working the timekeepers table or whatever at NXT, and Norman had said to Kidman, like, "Man, I could really see, Rick Victor, being, his tag partner and making this work." And Kidman had kind of gone, "Yeah, I could see that too." And they both swear Hunter walked up 5 minutes later, like right after they had just said this. And Hunter said the same thing. Well, he basically went like, "Man, I need to find somebody, I feel like, to make the Ascension thing like work. Like Ryan works himself, like Connor. But like it kind of needs to be a team." And Billy Kidman went, "Hey, Norman just told me 2 seconds ago that you should put in Rick Victor." And I guess like they just said, Hunter looked at the screen for a second, was like, "I think you guys are right." And so it's funny because like we had started filming. What was it? Oh, we had just filmed the pilots, I think, when this had happened, for NXT. And so we had gone in, we were at Full Sail that day filming kind of like the NXT Open. So it was just like getting shots of like the talent and all that stuff. And I'd filmed something, I think I just filmed something by myself. And I knew Ryan and like Connor and Corey Graves had both just gotten there from being back on the road. Like they had been out on loop that weekend. And I'd filmed my thing. And as I finished filming, Chris Chambers called me over. And he's like a guy who's been with WWE forever, and probably one of the greatest minds and biggest helps behind the scenes like there could be there. And he calls me over and he goes, "Hey, so have you talked to Connor or Hunter lately?" And I was like, "No." He goes, "Oh, well, apparently they want to film some Ascension stuff with you here. Like, just see what it looks like." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not in vampire clothes. Like, aren't the Ascension vampires?" Because that was kind of the idea back at that point in time. He's like, "No, we just want to throw you guys together." And so I know there's still a GIF that's actually of that very first thing we did. And really all we did was stand there looking creepy with all the lights as the camera spun around us. And apparently like they saw that and we're like, "Okay, let's roll with this." And then I just kind of went from there. There was like a lot of work that went into Ascension. Like even before me, Dream had put a lot of time in on that whole team, their whole thing and what they were doing. And then once kind of everything kind of fell apart, and then was at where it was, and then came back. Like I can remember the first couple times doing stuff in front of Dream, it was like tweaking, and it was always me. There was always something wrong with me. Until one day he came out and he was like, "Baby, I don't know what it is, but they really like what you're doing. And so whatever I just said to you about anything else, just fuck it. Just keep doing what you're doing. You made this your own thing." And I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "Yeah, my opinion means nothing because what you're doing is working. So just keep doing it." And I was like, "Is that an insult or like a compliment? Like, I don't really know." Like Dream was always kind of funny with me in that way. And it just kind of took off from there. From there, like Dream put a ton of time in, Bill DeMott put a ton of time in, Byron Saxton, put a ton of time in. Like he'd help people a lot back there in FCW, like in that last while in NXT, like with character development stuff. Like there's sides to Byron Saxton people will never see on his, even through his social media and how he is on camera. He's a super talented guy, and he helped a lot of talent. So
I'm sitting here putting everything together here. So because I wanted to ask you a question about, my question is end up going to be like, what's a really solid piece of advice that you received that really stands out? But, Hart Brothers, Rip Rogers, Ohio Valley, Al Snow, and now Dusty Rhodes, Norman Smiley, and that whole gang, I want to say, hey, what was it like working with Dusty Rhodes? Was it awesome? But you've had some great training throughout your entire career.
very
That's
blessed.
very blessed. Very cool.
Yeah. Learned from a lot of people who'd done a lot in the business and seen a lot. And one of the best things is a lot of my trainers could all say, these were mistakes that we've made and we don't want to see you make them again. Because you shouldn't have to make them. And so I was very, very lucky for all that. Like I was super blessed. And other than that, like I don't know if somebody, like even I had like a Japanese trainer a couple of years after I started in the dungeon that trained like Harry Smith and Tyson and myself and a couple other guys and like Natty. And like I think doing the stuff we did with him, because we were doing like Japanese conditioning and wrestling, and that's what we were training for, which was a big difference from dungeon training. Like I never got stretched in the dungeon, but I got stretched daily in that situation, like not only by him but Tyson and like the other people we were working with, and that made up for it. But I think one of the things he said to me that always stuck was, one day we were in the locker room and we used to all sit down there like after training, because it'd be 5 hours of just brutal misery, and he'd be like, "Hey, who's your worst enemy?" He'd be like, is this a trick question? And like he was so scary when he got like just the look in his eyes and be like, "Who's your worst enemy?" And I can't remember if he said it or we said it, or we figured it out, or he told us, but he was just like, you're your own worst enemy. And we're like, "Oh, okay, I gotcha." And that kind of became it. Like I think in wrestling, I never quit. I just never gave up. And like that was one of the biggest things. Like the only time I quit was the actual moment I got hired, so then I wasn't allowed to quit. But everything else was always like, no, I can't quit. I'm not done. You know what I mean? And I think I was amazed at how many people I saw quit WWE contracts in my first 6 to 8 months in FCW. I was like, holy shit, like you can do that? Like it didn't even like cross my mind. Like I swore I was going to get fired in 3 months. But obviously that didn't happen. But that was just it. Like it was just, I could never quit. So, that's my best advice is like, just don't give up. If there's something in you that won't give up, then you're not done. So
you guys go on to hold the NXT tag belts, and I think when I was talking to Kon, they took it off you guys maybe one day shy of a year, which he was like, "Come on, let's just have it one more day." But you guys get compared, just like everybody else does. It's going to be a big, jacked up tag team. Maybe have a little makeup. You get that Road Warrior comparison, and I wanted to ask you if you got a chance uh, to meet Joe at all because he
Almost
just passed away.
exactly, almost exactly a month before Joe passed away, we were doing a virtual signing up in Philadelphia, and that was like the biggest thing when we got there that night. Even we weren't doing our thing until the next morning, but when the guys brought us in, Animal and Paul were doing their thing. They were doing their signing, and we were like, I'm standing there like, it's like a little kid. Like I'd always wanted to meet Joe. Like we'd met Paul one time in Minneapolis before he started with the authors. Excuse me. It was just kind of funny because like I had seen him sitting around the building that day, and I was like, I swear I know who this guy is. He looks so familiar, and I hadn't seen him in years from anything. I've been eyeballing him a couple times. It's like, who is this guy? I know that face. And then I was walking through the hallway. I don't know if I was going to get ready to paint up or whatever. And I kind of wasn't even paying attention. And all of a sudden he just goes, hey, I just wanted to stop you and say hello. I'm Paul. I was like, oh shit, you're Paul Ellering. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, why? Oh, we're in Minnesota. Oh my God. It's so nice to meet you. I was like, what's going on here? Like, he goes, I don't know. He goes, they called me to come in today, and maybe it's possible because this was not long after we came up. He's like, maybe it's possible we'll be doing something together. And I was like, oh, that'd be awesome. And he's like, yeah, I got a meeting with Hunter in a little bit. And then we never saw him again until he showed up with the authors of Pain on NXT. So I hadn't seen him since then, but getting finally like to meet him and Joe, like to meet Joe was really awesome. And he was just so great to us. And man, it's like, I probably, if we're lucky, we stood there and talked for about as long as any of us could stand there and talk for at the time. And I honestly couldn't believe it. Like when I woke up like a month later and I was sitting there and I just, turned on my Twitter that morning as I'm half asleep and I saw Tommy Dreamer tweet it. And I was like, what? There's no way. Like I saw him and I looked back in my photos. I'm like, this was like almost exactly a month ago when I'd seen him. And like I remember I started looking on the dirt sheets. It hadn't hit the dirt sheets or anything yet. And then I went back to Twitter and there it was, the tweet from his account saying it. And I was just devastated, we'd had such a good, like awesome conversation that I felt like was long overdue. Not that he ever misunderstood anything on our point whatsoever. So it was awesome. I'm so thankful I got to meet him, just like anybody else that, you wish you had more time to do stuff. So
I met him on a couple occasions, and most recently in December, he was giving a seminar on an indie show. Went there, and I tell you what, the guy's mind for the business and his love for the business just kind of really shown is not the way, but shined through.
yeah.
But I remember him talking about a certain wrestler on TV being a prima donna in the locker room the night before, and he says, "Hey, listen, I'm in every Hall of Fame that there is for pro wrestling, and I don't even act like a jackass like that. So why are you?" And I thought, man, that was awesome. But yeah, I was shocked too. I saw that on Twitter, and I messaged the guys over in the UK because I'm like, oh, we got a Joe Biamonte as our social media guy. I'm like, hey, can you check this out? Because you know how people are starting controversy. And within a half hour, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it is true. So yeah, rest in peace. What a great guy. I'm glad you guys, and I did forget that I did see you and Connor's pictures on somewhere on social media. So, but yeah, I'm really glad that you guys got a chance to.
That was the thing. Like, I'm not one usually for taking pictures with people. Like, there's something about it. I hate asking people. Like, I'm always so happy that I get to meet anybody that I'm not a big on the picture thing. And that was one where I was like, man, I'm really glad I took the pictures I did. Cause I think it was funny. We'd been talking for a while and he's like standing there holding the shoulder pad and he goes, you guys mind watching this for a second? He's like, I just come on, like, take pictures, do everything. Like, yeah, it was pretty cool. Cool.
Yep. No, we just froze up a little bit. I got you, but I heard everything. It was just paused, and then everything kind of came up. No, that's fantastic. What a great guy, and way too soon to leave. It's going to be missed. And I want to be respectful of your time. I realize, like I said, I'm very rambling on and on here. Couple things I wanted to ask you before I let you off the hook here.
Sure.
Connor told me, because I'm always I was telling him how I started this little interview show to try to help people throughout the pandemic. So I said it grows very slowly. So I did ask him. I said, "Hey, do you got any really a ridiculous road story or some type of story that is going to make this show pop? You got any a cool story at all you can pull off the top?" This is so putting you on that hook. So if you don't got one, no big deal.
No, I was just trying to think of one that doesn't take forever to tell.
Or incriminate anybody.
Let's see. A good one, just of like something funny that popped into my head. It's not a crazy road story, but like when I can remember that, I'm pretty sure this happened. This was on a Euro tour. And everybody has a pretty good time on the Euro tour when you're traveling. Like, everybody hangs out and does their thing. And I remember there was a few of us at the back of the bus, and somebody has like a big gulp cup, basically, that they're holding. They're just holding like this, and they're on the right side of me. For some reason, I think I was sitting in the back talking with whoever was in the very back seat. And so the person in front of me has got their big gulp cup sitting there, and we're talking. And I'm pretty sure it was Connor. It was either Connor or Joe. No, it must have been Connor. I don't think Joe was there then. So we're talking, and all of a sudden the bus hits a bump. And like a big one. Like, I shot up, my head hits the roof of the bus. And I'm like, oh! And as I'm like doing that, I'm watching the drink shoot out of the big gulp cup in like a perfect, just like fountain, just... And then it curves over and lands right on Connor's lap. Like, just unbelievably so, of one of those things of like, we're all sitting there like, holy shit, did that just happen? And like, Connor's super like, what the fuck? Like, I think he was holding his head too. Like, his head hit the roof of the bus, like when we all hit the bump and stuff. But then we all just started laughing, because the rest of us that saw the actual, like, I think it was probably Bo or something. Like, I feel like he was even trying to catch the drink back in the cup as it still like landed on the Connor. Like, stuff like that was pretty funny. There was always kind of funny stuff that happened on the Euro tour, which would incriminate too many people to tell stories from. I'm trying to remember. We traveled with Heath so often that there was always something funny kind of with him. Like, crazy stuff I can't really think of, because a lot of the time I forget. And most of our stories, I feel like when we were on the road, we were always so busy like working that like times for us to do something crazy, there wasn't really like a lot of craziness, because it was more or less just going out to blow off some steam, stuff like that. Like, I had a lot of my crazier stories were more or less before I actually got to WWE, and like those times on the road, stuff like that. But yeah, that's all incriminating.
No, I hear you. So I started this just to find out what people have done in the lockdown now. Right around March or something, we go into this worldwide global pandemic. Just curious to know, what have you been doing? Like, what to keep yourself sane, to keep yourself close to the business? And I know this kind of helps a lot of people that watch, but what did you find yourself doing? Like I said, I almost feel like, I want to say we're coming out of it. I know Florida is opening up, but up here in Wisconsin, we're starting to shut down again. So it's like this vicious circle. Yeah. So what have you been doing?
I mean, Florida, I live down in Florida, so it's been just super quiet to me. Like, I don't do a lot to begin with. the thing that sucked, like it screwed up all of our bookings that we had, and it's continued to screw up bookings still. Because even when we started to see the light to be like, okay, cool, we're going to be set to do this. Like we were supposed to do something awesome in July, didn't happen. Got pushed back, so hopefully now December we'll get where we're going. And then, but during this whole time, like I built a home gym, which before I wasn't into doing at all. I didn't have the interest in it. And then like I train up here with, or I was training with Cena's trainer, because he's just got the best gym. He's one of the best trainers ever. And so he shut his down and everything when the pandemic happened. So I had to build one in my house here. So I've done that. And other than that, I just chill. I really have like a pretty laid back life here. Like I moved back to Tampa because like I always felt good being here, being in Florida. And so I've been pretty lucky. If anything, I've caught up on a lot of reading that I'd wanted to do. I mean, it's given me a lot more time to watch wrestling that I want to watch. That's for sure. I've rewatched just about every movie that I've wanted to rewatch. I've done so much stuff. Like honestly, I have to say, like the only thing I can complain about is that I can't go to work. You know, because like the things that we'd had planned all kept getting kind of screwed up, just by COVID. So you know, like we managed to get out a couple T-shirts, you know, stuff like that. Like it's hard when like everything you're going to go do to promote yourself kind of gets stopped and pushed back. So like, you know, Connor's he's training at a school there in what's it called? It's in Largo technically, or Pinellas County, something like that. I get confused with all the stuff being similar here because like he's now a coach over at Lethal's school. And so like I try to go up there once a week as well, and we'll work out and do stuff. So that's been a big blessing. Other than that, man, I just play a lot of virtual reality, play video games, swim in my pool, I work out. I really, you know, I can't complain about it other than that I'm not doing what we want to be doing. So
make the best of it. So, okay, I'm going to go rapid fire here for a couple questions.
okay.
These are kind of questions that I would hate to answer, but I'm going to ask them anyway. And you can have more than one answer. So, favorite band or singer, like music, what do you listen to?
Oh, Danzig is by far my favorite singer. Right now, I've just been listening to 6 Feet Under's new album, Nightmares of the Decomposed. So I've been a big fan of theirs, especially Chris Barnes, like their lead singer since he was in Cannibal Corpse. Like that was the first kind of like death metal, heavy metal I remember hearing as a kid. So like he just put out a new album that just came out last week. I was tweeting about it because I got my pre-order stuff all late with all my merchandise and everything. But like that album to me, like I'm a big fan. I've been a fan of theirs forever, and the new album kicks ass. So good. And me, like I listen to definitely a lot of metal. I don't always listen to a lot of new stuff. Like the bands that I listen to have been around forever. So like with them coming out with a new album, I was pretty stoked on. I'm trying to remember what else I just. There was some other new stuff I'm probably forgetting now, but that's mainly it.
I've heard that Corey Taylor's new album is pretty unlike Stone Sour or Slipknot. They said somebody, Sledge from Ring of Honor, just told me the other day he thought it was a pretty good album. I should check it out. So
I've never been a super fan of his. I know when I had I'm not a big Spotify guy, but I jumped over because of Rogan's podcasts. So I'd been listening to some of that, and I don't know if it's newer stuff from Corey Taylor, but when it would come on the playlists, I'd find myself taking them off. So, but I don't know if it was new stuff or not. Like I've never. It's funny. I've never been like a big Slipknot guy. When they first came out, I remember listening to them and being like, oh, there's something cool there. And then I sat down and tried to listen to a few albums, and I'm like, it's okay, but it's not my thing for some reason. I know there's a couple things off their last few albums they did where I did finally be like, no, I really like this song and whatnot. But, you know, that was about it. other than that, like I've done a lot of audiobooks. Like,
Yeah.
phew, so many audiobooks during quarantine. Like my list is insane. Like when I looked at it the other day, like it was funny at one point in time, even before quarantine, there was an audiobook I listened to. It was over 100 hours long, and that took me
Oh
so long to
shit.
get through. Yeah. And now, man, I destroy books that are like 16 hours long and stuff like that, and audiobooks. So,
So the 100 hours long book, hopefully it was worth it. It had a good ending or something, right?
oh, it
'Cause
was awesome. It's called
okay, sweet.
Jerusalem by
Okay.
Alan Moore. It's
Jerusalem.
quite the, if you're a big Alan Moore fan, you won't be disappointed. He's like the writer of Watchmen. That's what he's mainly
Oh, okay.
known for. V for Vendetta. He did like revolutionized comic books, and I didn't realize he had written a book. I just found it kind of Google searching stuff, like being like, oh, what have I missed? You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And then I found that on Audible, and I was like, how long is this book?
Oh
Holy
shit.
cow. Like, whoa. And I was like, I probably won't read that, because like even I know, like I'm a big Clive Barker fan, and when he put out Abarat, like he originally put it out as one book, but it was really like three books. And I used to always read that when I was flying, because like I could download it digitally and read it, and I'd always have enough time. But I'm
Yeah.
always kind of doing stuff around here, so I can pop in an audiobook and just kind of do whatever I'm doing and go. But that one was, yeah, that was something.
Yeah, that's crazy. Jocko, the Navy SEAL one. I listened to that. Was my latest one, kind of getting into it. Okay, this doesn't have to be new because we don't really have anything new, but my rapid fire, like favorite movie of all time, if you had to pick one or two.
Oh, Grandma's Boy.
Grandma's Boy. Okay, cool.
That one always pops up. Yeah.
How about TV show?
Oh, Twin Peaks. 100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. And then how about last one here? Because when people ask me like my favorite music, that's why I said I'm glad I don't answer. I'm all over the board. But do you have something we wouldn't guess, like a guilty pleasure, music wise, movie wise, TV wise, something that would be like, hey man, I can't believe Big Vic's listening to Mariah Carey's new album or something.
No, definitely none of that. I think
Okay.
yesterday I heard Two Unlimited on something,
Oh yes.
and I had said like, man, when I was a kid, I loved Two Unlimited when they first came out, and I was almost about to go try to put it on my phone, and then I didn't. So I would say, oh well, that or Tom Jones. So whenever Tom Jones comes on and I'm working out after like 6 Feet Under or something's been playing, I do enjoy some Tom Jones. There's some jokes that go into it though, but
My final question, and I want to say thank you so much for spending time. I really appreciate it. And Wrestling Travel does too. My final question is always my most important question. The fans that are watching this, where can they follow you on your social medias? Where can they go to buy? Because I did see some very cool T-shirt designs. Can you kind of plug away here at the end? Because I really want to
yeah.
make sure we
So
can support you.
my social media tag is the same on both of them. It's Vic the Space Lord, but there's underscores in between Vic and and then Space Lord.
Let me
So
pause
if you
right
can
there.
figure that out.
Where did you? The Space Sword thing is cool. Where is that coming from?
Short version is one day when we were all training out at Hard Knocks, and the song Space Lord came on.
Okay.
Moxley looked at me and was like, I can see you waking up in the morning and lighting a cigarette, and you get out of bed and just go start to make breakfast, and this song's playing. And I was like, oddly enough, you're not really far off from how my mornings go. He's like, I knew it. And it just kind of like stuck. There was like something else that happened one night when we were out, and he just like pointed at me and he was like, Space Lord, I knew it, you're the Space Lord. And it just kind of shot out from there, because there was like a time at FCW, like this was before Ascension and everything, where we were just kind of trying to figure out I guess what I was, who I was, however they want to put it, and the Space Lord just kind of came out, and basically all I would do is um, watch Scott Steiner promos for hours on end, at night. I'd go home and sit there on YouTube, just like Steiner promos. I just watched this stuff forever. And then I would kind of it was kind of like a Superman gimmick in a way, where like when we do it in promos, like I'd usually get pushed around like being a nerd. And I'd get kind of kicked out of the scene, and then I'd come back as the Space Lord and beat up whoever it was. Or like one time I can remember me and Moxley had an arm wrestling match on top of a pyramid of the girls that was there, which I was like, oh, this is perfect. Stuff like that. So it was kind of fun. That's just kind of where that came from. And it's just kind of always stuck. Like the guys that knew me from then, they always still call me that. So I can remember like Claudio told me one time, like Cesaro, he goes, Jericho just asked me why we call you all Space Lords. And the only thing I could tell him is that because you're the Space Lord. I was like, fair enough. So that's where that comes from. But so, yeah, that's my handles. We got one shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees under the it's not under the Awakening there. I have to change it. It's under FKA or FK Ascension is what it is there. I still have to change that one because we had that come out before we came up with the name. So that's Pro Wrestling Tees. Search FKA, it'll come up. Or Murder Face. If you search that Murder Face t-shirt, that comes up. And then we just put one out on grudgematchbrand.com, and that's our official Awakening t-shirt. So that's our plugs for now.
Yeah, and I encourage the fans, get on Twitter and check that out. I'm checking you out on doing my due diligence, checking out your Twitter. It's some very, very cool designs.
The artists we've had Juan of the Dead do them both, and like he's done tons of awesome stuff for people, but like he blew us away with the stuff that he came up with for us. So it's awesome.
Dude, they pop. And I tell you what, when I was talking to Connor about going from the Ascension to the Awakening, I'm like, it's cool, it works.
Yeah.
Really, I would love to, and Wrestling Travel will push when the next time you get out in the ring, but the way the world is, we don't know when that is, but I'm really cannot wait to see you guys work again in the future. There's so many different tag teams and stuff that I'd like, and individual that I just can't wait to see you guys going. So Vic, I want to thank you so very much for spending. I mean, I know it's a Friday, guys, so we're spending a lot of time together. I apologize for rambling on, but I appreciate it.
Good, man.
Really look forward to. Yeah, thank you. We'll get this out. I look forward to having you guys on again. But again, thank you so much.
Will do. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.